John, how do you find like how you did when you came to this industry in terms of how important it is for you to like kind of compare notes with other professionals in accounting and also others?
Well, like anything else, any other career that many of you guys are in, and only learn so much in school, right? You have to learn from others. I think at any point in life, it's good to be a mentor and have a mentor. I've always tried to maintain that. So I've always needed people to call, whether it's other accountants, other lawyers, investment people. Sometimes just information I don't have. Sometimes just getting a second opinion on things is really a good idea. You know, we're better together than by ourselves, right? Nobody's an island. And I was a sole practitioner for a long time and had no partners. I have two now, but for a long time I didn't have any at all. So it's hard to do everything yourself. It's hard to know everything. Nobody can. So I look at life as a lifelong journey where I'm continuing to learn things and always getting better. But there's only so much you can learn from school. You know, you have to learn from other people. That's sort of my thinking on that.
Absolutely. So, John, we don't have an agenda really. We're just gonna kind of free flow this, but there is like we do have guidelines because we can't just sit here and just like talk about accounting and tax like it's some kind of philosophical discipline because it really isn't, right? But what is like we both compare notes sometimes, and like in the very infancy of a business, the very infancy of a business, I do get calls of people starting businesses and they say, "What should I do? Can I like how do I start a business?" So how do you start a business, John?
You have an idea. It's usually where it starts. And there's lots of good ideas, and lots of people have great ideas. A lot of people never act on them. And then you have to find a way to make money out of it. So I just getting back to basics. Whenever someone comes in and says, I have a business idea, I always try to figure out is it a hobby or is it a business? A lot of people are doing hobbies that they want to turn into businesses. Sometimes it's for tax reasons, sometimes it's for other reasons, but it starts with an idea. What do you think it starts with?
I think it starts with wanting to put food on the table.
Well,
Right? Sometimes
a lot of self-employed people I have though are coming from employment. So
I came from employment.
you came from
I
employment.
came from
I guess
employment.
I came from employment. We all did.
Yeah.
I don't know too many people like, oh, I guess it happens. You come right out of university and you start a business. Sure, it happens. I think it's pretty rare.
You know what? That's interesting. I think if I started my business, and maybe if you the same, I'll speak for myself. If I started my business the day I got to university, I think I'd have fallen flat on my face like half a dozen times before I actually got it.
100%. Like you said, it goes back to who do we know and who do we talk to for support, right? You have nobody in the beginning. You have to make connections. It takes time.
And when you're that young and you're like say 22 when you get out of university, right?
Yeah.
Your connections may also be 22
Yeah.
with zero experience. Maybe you have an uncle or mama or dad or someone, a relative or neighbor that's in the industry that can guide you. But like oftentimes, like you and I are similar in age. My colleagues are similar in my age, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger.
Yeah.
But like sometimes you need a bit of a I guess foundation and my time at a big four accounting firm for 7 odd years, that provided an awesome foundation of this is generally how things are done. So that it's like, okay, well, when I open my own kind of mini firm, like really mini firm compared to a big four, then at least I kind of have an idea, I have some structure, some guidelines. It provides a good basis. And you kind of had that in the small accounting practice that you worked at. At least you had a growing concern that showed you kind of the ropes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but again, I think sometimes when you open a business, oftentimes it's like, you know what, I may have my job and I'm going to open this on the side. What do I do? And, sometimes I'll say, well, like, what do you want out of this?
Yeah.
Is this always going to be, you and a landing page and you can answer the phone saying, yes, I can do this and no, I can't? Or do you have something that's going to be a little bit grander, and at the same time, I'm asking them, um, how much money do you need to survive? And often I use the term like, what is your burn rate? And does this new idea or new business, are you expecting that to exceed your burn rate or meet your burn rate? Are those conversations you have too?
Yeah, like how many dependables do you have? What's your mortgage? We get kind of down to basics and we say how you're going to put food on the table. It's a great idea is a great idea, but you have to look at it. Like the moonlighting works well for a while, when you do maintain employment and eventually you cross over. A good friend of mine right now is doing that. He's crossing over from working for a financial institution and he wants to be a mortgage broker. He's doing both. It's hard. It's a lot of work. He's busy all the time, but Depends what age you're at as well. Like as you get older and you have dependents and mortgages to pay and expenses, it's a little bit more difficult to do it, but not impossible. When you're younger, in some ways it's easier to do it, but you don't have the experience. So I think the short answer would be it's always hard to start your own business. It's
I think you have to
really
pick that
hard.
time.
Yeah,
If you're too young, you may not have the experience. If you're
yeah,
too old, you may not have the energy or the time. It's like if you have, young kids at home and you're at work till 6 o'clock. Like I remember I used to work downtown. I took the GO train downtown Toronto for like 15 years. And I came back like at best, I would say 6:30, maybe 7:30. And if
yeah,
I was going to start a business at like call it 8 o'clock at night,
right.
and I have a young child, I had a young child at the same time at home. I mean, you just basically run out of hours. Like, when are you going to do this?
Not sleep. I don't know.
Not sleep? Yeah.
Anybody who starts a business, though, anybody who's trying to start a business right now and you're struggling, I applaud you. It's hard. And I've seen a lot of businesses come and go. I've seen a lot of success. I've seen failure. I've been at it 20 years, so I've kind of seen it all. And I know how hard it is. You sacrifice family, you sacrifice personal life, you sacrifice gym and sports. Everything has to get sacrificed if you're going to run a business. In some ways, it gets easier as time goes on. In some ways, it gets harder. I'd say the problems get bigger, but hopefully, as your business grows, you hire people and people will support you and you get more knowledgeable. But it's really hard at every stage. But the beginning is probably the toughest. You're not sure if it's going to work out. You may or may not be making any money. Most companies I see don't make money in year two. Hopefully, we break even or make some money. But in the beginning, it's really really tough. So. If I say nothing else today, I applaud anybody out there who's started a business or running a business. Family business. It's hard. It's really really tough.
Yeah. And, from a tax perspective, and, John is very familiar with tax. This is actually a real conversation I had with someone. They're like, well, one second, Matt, I made some money. And now you're telling me I have to pay HST. Yes. And I have to pay employee remittance tax. Yes. And if I made a profit, I got to pay income tax. Yes. And then I have to pay personal tax if I drew a salary. I was like, yes. It's like, there's very little left for me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is the regime we live in.
Yeah, we're highly taxed in Canada.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. There's probably a lot of different feelings out there about that. But I always say it's the punishment for success. If you're paying taxes, that means you're doing okay.
Making money.
You're making money. So that's kind of one of those things you have to deal with as you're making money. So fortunately or unfortunately, you're gonna have to deal with a gentleman like Matt at some point along the way. Most people don't complete their own financial statements and tax returns. They'll take them to a certain point. The financials, usually we get involved and we help out with some tax planning. We help out with any errors or mistakes and try to get things as best as we can. There's different levels. Maybe we'll go into that in another time. And then very often people don't want to complete their own tax returns, specifically corporate. I know some of you probably do personal, but they come to us for help for corporate tax returns. And
so when do you make that jump? So
Yeah.
John, we get back to like say, hey, like when I have an idea. I think it's going to make money. I'm going to, I'm going to install fences. I'm going to, open up a gym. I'm going to do whatever money making initiative that this individual is excited about.
Right.
And then, from what I do, I say, well, you know what? How do I start my own business? Well, I go, listen, you can just, print a business card and have a website.
Sure.
And you're a sole proprietor.
Yeah.
It's immediate. You go to Staples this afternoon,
Yeah.
print some business cards, and you're in business.
Sure.
Right now, when is that applicable?
I would say from the ground zero, it's good to talk to an accountant. At least go around and meet a few accountants. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be Matt. But go talk to an accountant. Most accountants I find will talk to you for half an hour, and you can get to know them. I bet you'll take out a few points as you get to know people. Is it a good idea to get going without an accountant? People do it all the time. They say, look, when I'm making money, I'll go see an accountant. Best advice I can give you is go see an accountant from the beginning. It's going to cost something. There's maybe a retainer. There's going to be a fee. But it's good to get the advice from the ground floor. A lot of time, Matt will probably say the same thing. By the time people get to me, they're like, "Oh, I wish I knew that in the beginning, or I wish I could talk to you in the beginning." So I would say on average, it's better to talk to us in the beginning, but we'll talk to you at any.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk to you at any point. And when you're considering this, in my experience, when you're starting a new business, the idea is always, do I just open up under my own shingle on my personal tax return as a sole proprietor?
Right.
Or do I take a leap to say, no, this is going to be more than just me? this is going to be a business, and one day, God willing, this thing runs by itself.
Right.
And you're like, no, I need to incorporate right now.
Right.
And then go from there. And usually, when I have a discussion with clients or prospective clients, John, maybe you do the same. It's like, okay, if this idea is, if it's meaty enough to say, listen, yeah, this is going to get going, maybe not off month one, but maybe within year one.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a corporate structure is best.
It's not one size fits all, guys. There's a lot of reasons why people incorporate. We get to the tax real quick, but we have to go back in time and what were companies originally started for. I think if we go back, I think it was in England, and I think it related to shipping, if I remember, and people were trying to find a way to separate business from personal, because they were worried about losing everything. Because if the boat ran afoul on the way to wherever it was going, they could lose everything. So I believe that's I'm sure someone will fact check me, but I think that's where it started. Where it's like, no, here's an opportunity where you can incorporate and you can protect your personal assets. So a lot of the time, it's not even a tax reason, an accounting reason, maybe other reason, an economic reason. It's just down to fundamentals that I don't want to lose, what I have, what I've worked so hard for. So we're fortunate in Canada, and there's many other countries around the world. I think most countries at this point allow you to have a company, and if you have a company, that's the fundamental thing: is you're separating your personal assets from your business assets. And I think that's kind of step one. Any thoughts on that matter?
Yeah, I mean that's step one, like, and that's a big step. That's the simple bifurcation between this entity which you're using for business and your personal life.